Hello everyone and good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning in the Backyard Live with Aislinn, and of course you got Joe back there behind the screen.
Good morning, beautiful day.
Yes, a beautiful day. I will tell you that I am extremely inspired, excited, invigorated. One of the reasons is because yesterday I hosted my very first ever online event. Now, I did a gardening workshop specific to seasonality and July, and spent an hour and a half with question and answers and a nice group of online folks that had purchased tickets, a couple of folks here that actually came physically to the class. We're trying to keep those pretty small, you know, we want to make sure we're staying apart from each other as much as we can for that social distancing. It was just a phenomenal event. We had some hiccups with technical things, the things that we'll need to learn, but all that set aside, it was a great opportunity for us to have a really good educational class together about gardening. Now, I'm going to be doing the exact same class on Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. for those of you that weren't able to make it or a Saturday morning doesn't work for you. And then in addition to that, I will be posting up quite soon the August workshops where I'll be doing pretty much the same exact thing. However, it'll be very specific to August and very specific to the questions that relate to August. Now, let's get started this morning. What I want to talk to you about this morning is resource management. Resource management in the world of self-sufficiency and sustainable living and homesteading is an extremely important part of having the most successful homestead and having the most successful gardens. And the reason is because to grow your own food and to have access to all of your own flowers and all the things that we have in our backyards, chickens and animals and all the different things that you have, it requires a lot of resources. And so if we're working really hard to ensure that that we can spend our time working in our gardens, working on our homes, then we need to make sure that we have resources available. Resources that don't cost a lot of money, right? Because we're wanting to make sure that our return on investment for our homestead and our gardens is extremely valuable, okay? So let's talk about that resource management. And one of the first things I want to talk to you, and first of all, I want to say thank you to my friend Monica for giving me this cute little basket here. She knows that I have chickens in my backyard. Isn't that great? All right, and so what I've done here is I've started to collect seeds, okay? And these are all seeds from things that I have collected over the years. A lot of them are 2020. So this is 2020 cilantro seeds. So when my cilantro plants went to bolt, and usually they go to bolt in like March, maybe April, kind of depending on what the weather does. I want to make sure I get all of the seeds from the top of those plants and let them dry out. That's a really important thing to keep in mind in the summertime because a lot of your plants are going to flower, going all the way to seed and drying out. And you want them to dry out on the particular plant as often as you possibly can let that happen. One of the things that I was able to collect a lot of this year was lettuce. I had a ton of 2020 lettuce. And I really let that lettuce go all the way completely out to flowering and then completely dried out with the little nice puffs of seeds. And then if I wasn't just picking the pods off, I was actually cutting the entire plant off from the bottom, leaving the roots in my hugelkultur bed so that they continue to keep the structure and the fungi and all the bacteria and good stuff growing under the soil. Took the top plant off, pop the very top off, throw this over to my chickens or whatever, and then take that part inside, take a nice silver bowl, and then just spend my time breaking those seeds up. And then what I like to do is to do my best to try to separate what I'll call the wheat from the chaff, basically. So you can see like some of them have a little bit more chaff in them, and that's okay because I'm not trying to sell these seeds. I'm merely using these seeds for my own future resource needs and also sharing them with my friends as well. Yes, there's a question?
How much is a package, I just don't know, how much is a package of lettuce seeds, for example? If you buy them at the store or online?
You can get a fairly inexpensive package. There's an American seed company that you can find at the Dollar Generals and stuff like that. Well, they'll have seeds and it'll have It won't have as many seeds as what's in this package, but it'll be only $1. So you can get them for as cheap as that. You could get them for as expensive as $4.99 a package if you're getting certain types of rare seeds from like the rare seed companies. So it just kind of depends. But one thing is for sure,
I'm just noticing there's a lot of money in that in the box that you're holding right now.
Well, what this is a lot of food.
Right.
In my mind. It's a lot of food to feed your family. It's a lot of food to feed your friends. And also, it's a lot of flowers. Some beautiful sunflower mix here I just threw in. And this one here, I just threw in sunflower marigold zinnia. It's okay if it's mixed up because I know that these are summer flowers. And I know that these are going to be a beautiful addition to my house and the cut flowers. Okay, so and then one of the things that's super easy to collect is your cantaloupe seeds, especially if you taste one of those delicious, memorable, tasty cantaloupes. You have to save the seeds from those. In a future video, I will show you exactly how I've learned how to save seeds inside when you're talking about actually the wet seed, because one of the important things that you have to do is to let the seed ferment a little bit, and that helps to break the barrier off the top of the off the outside of the seed that is the growth inoculant, basically, and it keeps the plant from growing, that keeps the seed from germinating longer. So when you save those types of seeds like tomato seeds and different types of melon and squash seeds, you do need to make sure that they have a chance to ferment as well. So we'll talk about that more in the future. Now let's move down here to this. This is really a new adventure for me, and where in some spaces it's pretty easy to do this. So like this is these are my propagated plants. I've really just begun propagating plants. Now this is Green Harmony or longevity spinach. It can be used in all the same ways that you use spinach. It has a little bit of a different flavor, so we've noticed sometimes it's not, some of the dishes we're using this in, it's not equal to, say, a Swiss chard, right? Because we made a recipe the other day that called for Swiss chard. We used this. It gave us some green. It wasn't as delicious as we might have imagined. So next time I'll grow a little bit more Swiss chard so that I can make that dish available. But otherwise, it's pretty good for most anything you would do. Green, different types of cream spinach. You can definitely use it fresh. You can absolutely use it in all your smoothies. It's a very good green filler in a smoothie, especially in the summertime, because in the summertime, when you're concerned that you're not eating all that fruit fast enough, like your watermelon, your cantaloupe, your figs, your peaches, all you have to do when one of those gets a little bit past ripe of what you want to eat it fresh is just pop it into a freezer bag. Those are perfect for your smoothies. Then you go out and grab some of your moringa off your moringa tree. You go out and you grab some of your Green Harmony or longevity spinach off of your well-established longevity spinach plant, and now you've got some food to make a nice smoothie in the afternoons to reinvigorate everyone, or break fast if you do intermittent fasting. That's a way as well. But here, the thing about longevity spinach is it's a really easy to propagate plant. It doesn't even take this much work. I could literally cut it off and stick it in one of my beds out there. Just stick it right in one of my beds and it will grow in the future. I already have done some of that. What I'm doing here is making these available for other people to have access to this particular plant, the longevity spinach plant. The same thing happens for the moringa as well. Let's see if I've got a moringa that's doing really well. I'm not really sure. I probably need to label these better than I have. But moringa's another one. It grows even better from cuttings than it grows from its own seeds. And so that's one that you can propagate as well. And another one that I've spoke about many weeks in a row is the Cuban oregano. Also very, very easy to propagate. What do I use to propagate? What I have chosen to use is cocoa coir and sand. And what I do is I take a 5-gallon bucket. I fill it with a couple of bricks of cocoa coir. I order my cocoa coir online from Amazon. I know that you can probably get it here locally at a couple, or at your local stores at a couple of different places. It'll come in a brick size like this, and you have to soak it in water. Okay, I put a couple of those bricks in, and then I fill the once I've filled it up for water and let that get all nice and moist and mushy, I then fill the other portion of the 5-gallon bucket up with sand. I mix it up really nicely. I use my hands. You may want to use gloves because you're going to get it all underneath your fingernails. And then I just poke these cuttings off. Now, one of the things I want to make sure, now look at this right here. This is that plumeria style plant over there with the red flowers on it. I'll show you it, or I have shown you it on another day. Do you see these little buds sticking out right here? These little pops, even where the leaves were at. I want to make sure I have about 5 of those down in the mixture that I've made. I want to make sure those are down in there. Now, another thing you can do for plants that you may be a little bit more concerned about whether or not they're going to propagate easily, because Turk's cap propagates easily. This, I forget what this one's called, I'll figure it out later on, but this propagates really easily as well. That starts with a P plant. That one propagates really easily. And then I'm also learning that the sage propagates really easily as well too. So I took this sage from one of my consulting clients. She was happy to let me trim off of her plant, and I told her I'd bring her one back to her. And now, I mean, it has not even been 2 weeks and it's already begun to put on some new leaves. Okay, so that one's really easy. Now over here, what I've done is put in Chinese tallow. Look at me, I put a label on that one. Good job, me. Now I have no idea whether these will ever work, but what I did was I borrowed from my dad on this particular occasion some root stimulator. And what I do is take the bottom of that plant and just scrape the bark off of it, stick it down in the root stimulator, in the little container of root stimulator, and then poke a hole down into my medium that I'm planting in and place it right back down inside there. That might just give me a little bit more extra help with how things are working out with her. Are you having problems over there on the camera? Nope, you're good? Okay. And so these are things that are really important for wanting to make sure that you have more plants available, because some of the best things for having the best, most easiest and lazy gardens, the gardens that are most available to have the nice microclimate that can grow all season, all year long, is making sure you have lots of plants. You've seen over the weeks the number of plants that I plant. You've seen that this particular area starting in January was completely bare, and now it's a full green growing area. And it's got lots of green stuff growing. It's because I have lots of plants to plant. I have lots of seeds to plant. I have lots of resources, okay? So let's walk over here to my chicken run where I want to talk some more about resource management. And one thing that is essential in resource management, I believe, for any homestead, any backyard garden, is some sort of livestock. I particularly like chickens. I think chickens are extremely resourceful animals. So, where are my chicks? Where did they go? I don't even see them. That's funny. Are they hiding from the sun? They flew out. That's live television for you, isn't it? I don't even know where the chickens are. Anyways, are they inside the coop? They're inside there. Okay, you can answer, it's okay. Everybody knows you're back there. All right, so, hey y'all, come out.
You just rang the dinner bell. They will run for that.
All right, so let's get back to it, right? Oh, that went well. All right, okay, so talking about resource management. Every night when we get done with dinner, we scrape our food our excess food on our plate into the trash can. We don't. But generally, as Americans, that's what we do, right? Okay, so now let's turn over to what other things we're doing in our kitchen. There's leftover food. Over in the refrigerator, we open it up, and there's 3 containers of leftover stuff that somehow didn't get eaten, got pushed to the back, we forgot about it, whatever it is. We pull those things out, and we bring all of that stuff. I mean, anything. Those chickens will literally eat anything. We bring it out, we dump it in. Actually, look at that gloppy mess over there.
Yeah, that's last night's after sitting in 100-degree temperatures.
And also, that is a full clean out of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
We pulled out all the squishy, spinachy, creamy goodness and the, whatever. It's going in that bowl over there, right? And so our chickens are pretty spoiled. They've got access to scratch when we throw it out. We do feed them a little bit of grain, I think like 1 scoop in the morning and 1 scoop in the evening type of situation. And then of course we've got all of the trimmings that I pull from the garden. Any little vegetable in the garden that didn't go that well, any little vegetable that's not happy anymore, that's doing a thing, right? So we're able to bring it over here and give it to the chickens. That's a way to turn our garbage into food, because they are then going to lay some eggs. Let's go look over here and see how many eggs that they've laid for us. Okay. Ah, thank you, ladies.
I think a frittata is in our future.
And that is just from 4 of our ladies. That our youngest ladies are not able to lay yet. So that's just from the 4 older ladies. Now imagine when our big ladies, all of our ladies, start laying again. It's going to be fantastic. All right, so now what if you don't have chickens, but you know that you need compost because you've heard compost is important for, you've been paying attention to the words I'm saying, and you know that compost is important. Well, I have created, and don't really need it because I have chickens, but before we had the chickens, we created this three compartment system over here. And we then collect, you can collect coffee grounds, any type of vegetable scraps, eggshells, tea bags, pretty much anything like that. Don't use dairy, meat, cheese, any of that kind of stuff. And all you're looking to do is layer your green stuff with your yellow stuff. I call this a red light, green light, yellow light system, okay? So yellow light, I'm gonna put in all my carbon material. We'll talk about carbon in just a second. Green light means that I am contributing. I'm bringing all my excess green grass, I'm bringing all my excess cuttings from the gardens, I go to the local grocery store and pick up scrap vegetables about once a week. I'm putting that in there. And I'm also putting in some of that good carbon material as well. Pulling from this stack of carbon, I'm adding to that stack. I'm layering green, yellow, green, yellow, green. Now when I get this thing full, or I get it to the top of the little wooden rung that I've created, right? And you can move this could be here instead of here. When I've got it layered, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, top it with yellow and shut it down. Close it up, especially in the summertime, because it's gonna get hot and it's gonna break down really, really fast. And then you're gonna have that compost that you're looking for your starting of your fall beds and the things that you're doing to start your fall beds as well. Some of the things you may need to do if you don't have enough green and you have an overabundance of carbon, which is not unusual at all for urban, well, for any homestead for that matter, to have more carbon than you have green material. And if that's the case, you may need to do a little bit of watering your beds to give them a little bit more moisture and to make sure that they're having that moisture available to break down. One of the things that's really good about having chickens is that chickens actually contribute the microbes that help to break down materials faster. So their manure, which is also important and good for fertilizer, as you probably already know, their manure is very good for helping to create the microbes in there. Not only that, they do the hard work of things you may have to do in some future times. You might have to do, you don't have to do, but you may have to do some turning, especially if you're doing a really big like hotbed, getting your tractor and flipping that stuff over, that kind of thing. You may have to do some labor, but with chickens, there's no labor. In fact, there's hardly any just compost in my compost bin.
Yeah, you went to Natural Grocers just like a week ago, and
one of those
bins was half full. Oh, you know, several days ago. Talk about resource management. That free chicken food, if you will.
Yep.
In this case. And
yes, and think about that. That's stuff that, you know, we want to get it out of our landfill, because it fills up our landfill and it creates methane gas. Then they have to figure out how to package that methane gas, because the methane gas causes problems in our ecosystem. And so this is a way that you can not only contribute to your own resource management, but you can also contribute to your city's resource management. There's money spent on the land that we use to build those composting systems. that being said, another way that you can collect resources is by contacting your local landscaper. Any tree trimming company that drives around in your neighborhood wants to know your name. And the reason they want to know your name is they want to know that you want to collect some of that carbon material that they have available, because they're going to have to drive all the way to the dump, and they're going to have to spend, I don't know, $25, $50, whatever they have to spend on taking it into the dump. So what they would rather do when they're in your neighborhood is to go, hey friend, they'll send you a text, I've got a load, would you like me to bring it to you? And then you say, absolutely. Now that's a little bit harder for urban folks than it is for folks that are living in more rural areas. But one of the places I know urban-wise in Corpus Christi that you can get access to that is to go over to the Learning Garden, where they get big dumps of this type of stuff. That's at 3808 Upriver Road, and pick yourself up some. And that's available for you there at the Learning Garden. Now, the type of way I use some of that mulch that they're bringing to me is deep litter in my chicken pen, right? I also use it for footpaths in my gardens. But look at this, what I've dug up down here. It's actually wet down here. In the middle of this heat, when there's been no rain in 5 weeks, about 4 or 5 weeks, I have moisture. So I have breakdown happening. This is actually creating compost for me, as well as growing microbes and things that the chickens can dig into and eat. Make themselves a nice bath. I'm growing fungi. Do you see all of this little filament there? I'm growing fungi. Fungi is really important. It feeds the chickens. It creates good compost so that I have compost to use in the future. This is what's called deep litter bedding for your chicken run, and it's very, very, very good. Still wet, completely wet, right? Okay, now everyone's beginning to build their beds and getting their beds ready to go. One of the most important things I believe that you need to have in the bottom of your containers and in the bottom of all of your beds is lots of carbon material. Now some of that can be a nice litter mulch, like this stuff where it's lots of leaves and really broken down wood chips, but I actually like to use the materials, again, resource management, my own materials from my own land. I put money, I put resources into growing these trees. I water my trees. I take time to trim them. Joe climbs up and down a ladder with a saw and cuts them. We spend energy on this. So the very last thing I want to do is take my gold and put it out on the curb for it to then get taken to the dump to where it fills up my landfill, and now my city has to pay more for more land, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save that material, all this material. Then I can take my shears, and actually I did some of this to kind of make it a little bit more of a deep litter situation. Before I even put some of these in, I went and broke this stuff up. And now my chickens will be so happy. I wish they were closer. Because underneath there, look at all of those insects and stuff crawling around down in there. That's food, that's protein, that's eggs, that's resource management right there, okay? But all this stuff is breaking down. The seeds will be eaten up. I'm not worried about the seeds. I'm not worried about any type of insects that might have been on that stuff because my chickens are taking care of that for me. And in the meantime, I'm now creating, I brought my loppers, small pieces that once I dig out my hugelkultur bed, I can fill the whole hugelkultur bed up with logs and trimmings and leaves and cuttings and all of that stuff. And that's gonna help me create that really good balance that my annual vegetables need and my perennial bushes. I just saw a monarch, it distracted me. That's gonna make all of that happy balance that I need in order for me to have the most successful, healthy soil, right? I've got healthy soil because I have bacteria and fungi in my soil. I'm also keeping moisture in my garden so that my plants, I'm keeping coolness. My soil temperatures are lower. Some of the soil temperatures lately have been skyrocketing up in the hundreds, right? So that's what I'm doing over here. Let's walk this way a little bit because I want to open up. Speaking of resource management, this is a gate that we have moved around this garden to 4 or 5 different places. So use your pieces of equipment wisely. Use your things. Look, when I went to go pick up scraps from natural grocers to bring to my chickens, they put them in these nice cardboard boxes. Now I fold open those cardboard boxes and slide them into places to keep weeds from growing up underneath places where I don't want to have to weed eat and do things like that. Resource management. Cardboard is another carbon that's really important for your garden. Look at these trimmings that I have here that I'm going to be able to use. All of this stuff to build a very nice, thick, big hugelkultur bed. That's really all I have to say today. There's been a lot going on. I'm super excited. Now,
when you build this hugelkultur bed eventually, I guess you'll show everyone how exactly you do it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a workshop where I actually
awesome.
build the hugelkultur bed. So we'll go through step by step by step and really build the bed. Something like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. But it's really like lasagna gardening. Yeah, and if you have other questions, every Sunday morning, this is a fantastic place to come and talk to me about anything you really have in mind. I tend to stick with the topics, the daily topics or the Sunday daily topics, in a way that matches what's happening seasonally and what I'm doing in the garden and what I'm inspired by happening in the garden. And I think it's extremely important right now with all the things that we're going through to start preparing and making sure that we can feed our families. But I also think it's extremely important to reserve our resources because we don't exactly know what's going to happen with jobs and economy and health and all of those things. And so because of that, reserving your resources is essential right now. And I'm doing everything I can to learn more about doing that as well. Okay, all of that being said, please be sure to go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. You will get to see all of these. You can go back through January week by week. So 40-something weeks or 30-something weeks. How many weeks are we into? What year is it?
Into the year?
Yeah. What day is it?
We're in July. We're just shy of 52.
Okay, so I've been doing
just shy of 56.
Just 52.
Shy
You're
of
confusing
30.
me.
What is math?
Right. What month are we in again? What day is it?
I have no idea.
All of that being said, I have lots of information for you up there on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Subscribe there. I have a fantastic Instagram page as well. Please follow me on Instagram. I post lots of beautiful pictures. I do quick little stories with quick little informational pieces all of the time up there as well. And of course, I would love it if you guys will tune in to episode 45. Boop, boop, 45, here we go. 45 of Dinner Table Talks, and I will tell you, we get passionate. Over the last few weeks, I just can't imagine how anyone's not getting passionate right now. There's a lot to get passionate about. So we get passionate. I hope you'll tune in. I love you all, and I wish you all the best luck with growing and everything you're doing with your own homesteads. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you next Sunday.